Starting with news from Ethiopia, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has ordered his army to launch a final offensive against Tigray's dissident leaders. Abiy, who won Nobel Peace Prize in 2019, gave Tigray People's Liberation Front 72 hours to lay down their weapons. Tigray leaders rejected this ultimatum and said the deadline for surrender has now expired. Now, Abiy has said that the Ethiopian army has been directed to conclude the third and final phase. He further said that his final phase, they will take great care, and great care will be given to protect innocent civilians from harm. All efforts will be made to ensure that the city of Mekelle, which was built through the hard work of our people, will not be severely damaged. It is not clear how close the Ethiopian army is to Mekelle. Some sources say that the federal forces were at least 30 kilometers from the city. The fears of assault on Mekelle's 500,000 people has accelerated diplomatic efforts to initiate dialogue to mediate. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has urged the leaders of Ethiopia to do everything possible to protect civilians. Now, the US, EU and other international organizations have encouraged mediation through the African Union. As international pressure mounts, Abiy issued a strongly worded statement rejecting what he called outside interference. Now, the two sides have been clashing with each other for 3 weeks now. Hundreds of lives have been lost and more than 40,000 people have been displaced as a result of the violence. Many refugees claim that Ethiopian army has blocked a main road to Sudan, preventing people from crossing the border. People who had never thought that they would become refugees are now being uprooted as the conflict continues. Umrakuba camp in Sudan has space for about 5,000 refugees, but it has given shelter to almost double the number of people. The UN is now working to open another camp soon, as they expect over 200,000 more people to arrive in the next 6 months. Now, for more on this, WION correspondent Coletta Wanjohi is live with us from Addis Ababa. Thank you so much for joining us. PM Abiy Ahmed has ordered his army to launch a final offensive, as you of course know. What can you tell us about this?
Well, as we're talking right now, the government says that fighting continues in the northern region, and the target of the government is to occupy and enter Mekelle, which is the capital city of the Tigray region. Now, it is an area that has approximately 500,000 civilians living in the city, and so the government has been saying that it is going to be careful in terms of how it does the military operation there. The idea is to arrest those that the military can, who have been loyal to the other side, the regional forces of the Tigray People's Liberation Front, as well as some of the leaders if they can. So far, this is the second day of fighting. Government hasn't announced yet the kind of progress it's making, but it just says that it's moving forward.
And also he mentioned, and of course you just mentioned right now as well, that great care will be given to protect innocents. What can we expect in that regard?
Well, it is a promise that the government has given that it will make sure that civilians are protected and their property is protected, and little harm is done to civilians who are living there. The government had already told them days ago that those who can should leave the city and or surrender information to the military forces. But in a war, I mean, there's no guarantees as to how careful how careful fighting can be in terms of civilians. So we are seeing that, and we understand that a lot of people who wanted to flee into Sudan, like others, have been blocked by government forces. That's what we are hearing, and people are just stuck, hoping that the war will end very fast.
Yes, that's what I was trying to understand, if there is any measure in place to accommodate these people. And also, despite international pressure, the conflict has continued to escalate. What can we expect now? How do you think this is going to pan out now?
Well, we have two instances here. We have the international community calling for de-escalation of violence, and the African Union taking the lead and sending envoys. We have the envoys in town right now. Those are the former presidents of Mozambique, Liberia and South Africa, who have been sent by the African Union to try and convince the government that dialogue probably is the only way. They have met the president of Ethiopia. They're currently meeting the prime minister of Ethiopia, but he has made it clear that he will meet them just for the respect of the African Union, and he has said he will not relent and sit on the table with the Tigray People's Liberation Front. So that's one side, the international community pushing for de-escalation. But on the other side, we have the Prime Minister who is bent on ensuring that his military operation goes through, and that's why he's calling this the third and final phase. He says he must continue this military operation in order to bring the Tigray region and the northern region back to constitutional order.
All right, Coletta, thank you so much for joining us with all those details. We will continue to track this very closely, of course.